Hey guys, Jennifer Foley, your local realtor, real estate broker from Remax Rouge River, and I am here with the lovely.
Melanie Williams from Law in Motion. Great to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, so Melanie and I were just talking. I have this lovely pink background and toys and everything else, but with COVID-19, I have moved my home office upstairs so that I can be mom as well as realtor and still be able to manage what I need to do for work and work virtually, more so from home with the kids being out of school and all the rest of it. So thanks for coming on and being on this episode today. I'm so excited to have you here. And Melanie, you are a lawyer. If you want to give a little background on yourself, that would be great.
Definitely. So I'm a lawyer at Law in Motion. Started this firm a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago now, in 2017.
Yeah.
And before that was working as an associate at a firm in Whitby. So I have a few years under my belt. I do real estate, wills and estates, and corporate commercial. And that's kind of me in a nutshell. So
And the areas that you serve?
So areas that I serve, I'm in Bowmanville, so primarily Durham region, but I also have an office in the East End in Marmora. So I do Hastings County as well, Peterborough. I'm kind of all over. So the concept of Law in Motion is that I bring services to clients wherever they may need me. And during this sort of uncharted waters.
Mobile. You're mobile.
Absolutely. So a little bit different than some lawyers, but it works.
And so now with everything going on with COVID-19, we're all working virtually and our offices were adapting to those changes of being at home more and having to virtually deal with our clients and dealing with clients that maybe aren't as tech savvy, but still have some technology. And so we're working through all those, and I'm sure you're finding the same thing, are you not?
Yeah, absolutely. So some things are a little bit harder than others. So for instance, the wills and estates side is kind of crawled to a stop just because it's harder to verify and make sure that there's no undue influence.
Yeah.
But as far as real estate goes, we are working with Zoom, Skype, something called Google Duo, which I hadn't heard of before.
I haven't heard of that one. I've heard of Google Hangouts.
Yeah, FaceTime, Messenger, anything like WhatsApp, all kinds of apps, just whatever the client has, I download and get the kids to give me a quick tutorial on how to use it.
That's awesome.
And then hit the ground running.
Awesome. So today I want to cover a couple of things, commonly asked questions that you as a lawyer are getting from the clients. I think one of the questions you mentioned to me is what happens if the bank doesn't fund? And we're talking about after we've got an accepted offer and you have a buyer and a seller that are both under contract and getting ready to close on this deal to change possessory rights. So I would take it it's coming from either buyer or seller, that question of, what if the bank doesn't fund? So what are you typically responding with? Or how are you managing that question?
Yeah, so I think it's all about kind of communication, right? So we speak to the other lawyers, who are your lenders? What is it looking like? Do you have instructions? When we're on the purchaser side, we speak with our brokers, right? All of those community partners to find out how the deal's looking. Yeah, and if we need to ask for an extension or if there is a risk, then what I'm finding is that the goodness in people is kind of rising to the top, and lawyers are working together to extend deals where we need to and really get things closed and keep things on track for our clients. So all positive things. It's just we really, on a day-to-day basis, we don't know what the bank's going to say tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So the flexibility is key, communication, and just making sure that people don't end up without a home to move into.
So you're looking at resolutions and sort of planning and preparing and asking, the lenders or the other lawyers to be upfront and honest and say, if we're having a problem, let's look at a solution and move that forward so that we can all still have a win-win situation, so to speak. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the sooner the better, right? So then if we know the issue a week in advance as opposed to the day of closing, that always helps.
Well, then you can come up with a resolution rather than last minute, right?
Exactly.
Now, the other question that you mentioned to me is, what happens if the other side can't close the deal? And I'm sure that in some people's minds, there's questions around, with people going on EI and,
Right.
uh, job loss and economy, uncertainties. I don't want to say it's one way or another, but, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the market, and that builds fear for people.
Right.
We can, and so what is it? How are you responding?
So there seems to be some solutions across the board, right? So for instance, if they can't close because their bank's not operating, right? So we have the money, we've gotten it to them, or we can't get it to them, that's a different situation. Or if we can't register because the property's in registry and the registry office happens to be closed to the public. All of those things, right? Which is when we start looking at, can we close this in escrow, which gets the client the keys, the other side gets their money, but we're just sort of unable to physically do the registration part.
At the
So,
land registry office.
right, exactly. So again, it comes down to finding flexible solutions
Yep.
and just, being client focused and client centered in every decision that we make.
Now, the land registry office, that may be something that people think of, but it may not be. So if you want to
Right.
explain what the land registry office is and how they're functioning currently right now, is there any unexpected delays or close? Like, are they going to still be open and available to you? What have you been advised?
Yeah, so in my experience in dealing with the registry office, they are the ones that actually complete the transfers changing hands, right? So we, in most cases, the properties are in land titles, which means that they've been converted into the electronic system, which allows us to register things electronically. In
Yeah.
those cases, the registry office is still operating behind closed doors, so electronic registrations are typically unaffected right now.
Okay,
The
that's
other
good.
side is when the properties remain in that old system, in the registry system itself, meaning there was an issue or a reason why they weren't converted in the first place. Those ones are the ones where we have to file in paper format, which is the ones that tend to be held up because they're not accepting any paper at the door.
And that could be somebody too in the old system, could be just that somebody's lived in their house for 50 years
Mhm.
and it's never changed hands, right? Those
Yeah,
are,
so there's a whole vast amount of reasons why it would still remain in that R system. A lot of Durham region has been converted, but when you're looking at Hastings County and those cottage properties and acreages, a lot of that has not been converted
yeah.
for one reason or another, right? It's a little
So
bit
they're
of,
still sitting in the old system versus
yeah,
the new system.
right. And so if someone passes and then you have an estate trying to dispose of a piece of land that they're not aware of that history,
Yeah,
it does present a bit of a problem.
excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. And
Yeah,
you and your family, be safe, be well, and hashtag we will get through this together. And
awesome.
we'll chat next week again, and we'll see if we can cover some more questions and answers and get the information out to everybody.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks.